Hey guys, Asip here and welcome to PHP tutorial number 21. In this tutorial, we're not actually going to be looking at what I said we would be last time, because I just remembered, well, I knew all the time actually, but I just got the order wrong. We need to look at something so we understand why we need to use parameters and providing function arguments and stuff. And that topic is function scope, or just scope in general actually. So you might ask, what is scope? Well, it's quite hard to explain, so I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to show you guys actually really what scope is. Before we get on to that, just in case anyone's wondering, no one has actually commented to ask it yet, but I'm using ActiveState Komodo IDE 5.1. It's really actually quite nice. It does PHP, and it does a whole bunch of other languages as well. I'm not sure if I can find... oh wait, there we go. So you can see all these it does. So it's really nice, and it has lots of where you can type one curly brace and it will automatically put in the other, and then when you press enter it puts it down there and it gives you a tab in and stuff. It's just really nice to use in general, so that's why I'm using it. But anyway, back to scope. Now scope, as I put here, is probably one of the most important things about functions, and not just functions but other things as well in most languages, okay? The reason I say most languages is because I think there are a few languages which don't bother with the rules of scope, so but PHP and all the others I know certainly do, so we need to understand scope. Now, scope is basically, if we look at this example here, I've created a variable called myVar and set it equal to 5. It doesn't matter about the value really. It could be a string, it could be a bool, it doesn't matter. I've just decided to use a number. Then I've defined a function called echo myVar, and all it does is echo out the variable myVar which we just created up here, and then also a line break as well. Now, when we call it, what you'd expect to happen is simply it would echo out 5 and then it will put a line break. But the thing is, this is where scope kicks in. Now before I talk about scope, let's just look at the results of what actually happens here. I've started up WAMP, I'm going to go into the tutorials folder, and you'll see it says undefined variable myVar in blah 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 index.php on line 20. If I go to 20, let me just enable line numbers, there we go, line 20, and here we go, there's an undefined variable called myVar. But wait a minute, I swear we just created it up here and defined it and everything, so what's the problem? Well, the thing is, when you have functions in PHP and C++ as well, this applies, and Python and Java and a whole bunch of languages really. A function, and not only a function, but we're just going to look at functions for the moment. They are oblivious. The body of the function is oblivious to all variables outside of it. Okay. So for that reason, when we come into the function, when we call it, for instance, let's imagine we're at runtime of this page, and we're calling echo myVar, and so PHP goes, wow, a call to echo myVar. Let's go take a look at what we have to do in echo myVar. So it gets to the first curly brace, and just before it goes into the actual function body, it's like, okay, wait a minute, scope applies here. I'm gonna completely forget, temporarily, I'll completely forget about all variables that have been created so far, okay, and I'm only gonna worry about what's inside of echo myVar, inside of this function. Okay, now that's pretty much exactly what happens, apart from we'll talk about in next tutorial where we can have exceptions and stuff, but apart from that, that's exactly what happens. And so when it hits here, it's like, wait a minute, since I came in here and forgot about everything else outside this function, there has been no declaration of a variable called myVar. So it goes and creates a a notice, in this case, undefined variable. Okay, because this is just a notice, the page will still execute. If it was something more serious, gave an error, it would say, hey, big error, parse error on this line, and none of the page will even show. So this isn't too much of a problem for PHP to stop running the page, but it's enough of a problem that if you had a function which, like I said in the last tutorial, calculated tax, this could create big problems for you, because you then receive a value of tax which wasn't right, because it was, hey,